da poco approvato un nuovo decreto in Consiglio dei Ministri che è un tassello molto importante della strategia di contenimento al Covid che abbiamo messo in campo come governo negli ultimi mesi.
2, 3, qua. 2, 3, qua.
È una strategia che punta essenzialmente sul vaccino come chiave fondamentale per aprire una nuova stagione. Con questo decreto estendiamo a partire dal 15 di ottobre l'utilizzo del Green Pass a tutto il mondo del lavoro, pubblico e privato. Poi su questi temi si intratterranno chiaramente il Ministro Brunetta e il Ministro Orlando. Lo facciamo per due ragioni fondamentali. La prima è rendere questi luoghi più sicuri, perché il Green Pass è uno strumento di libertà che ci aiuta a rendere questi luoghi più sicuri, e la seconda ragione è quella di rendere ancora più forte la nostra campagna di vaccinazione.
Ho dedicato un capitolo alla questione del Covid per mettere in evidenza in fondo come ci hanno imbrogliato dicendo vaccinatevi perché dovete seguire la scienza, perché la scienza dice che i vaccini sono sicuri. E i vaccini sono tutt'altro che sicuri, nel senso che oggi si stanno scoprendo gli effetti collaterali e ce ne sono stati tanti. Soltanto che c'era una censura. Gli studi che trovavano un effetto dannoso dei vaccini non venivano pubblicati, le riviste scientifiche si rifiutavano di pubblicarli. Ed è una brutta storia perché le riviste scientifiche dovrebbero essere indipendenti. Insomma, sul Covid ci hanno detto un sacco di bugie. E la bugia più grossa è stata quella cosa che era comparsa già alla fine del 2021, un articolo importante che stimava che la vaccinazione, già nel primo anno di vaccinazione, aveva prevenuto tra i 14 e i 19 milioni di morti. E questo studio è stato citatissimo, è stato menzionato anche quando hanno dato il premio Nobel agli inventori del vaccino per il Covid. Nella motivazione del premio Nobel hanno citato questo studio, e questo studio era sballatissimo, nel senso che si basava dei presupposti che non erano modelli matematici. E allora vi dico questo perché non dobbiamo fidarci, non dobbiamo fidarci nemmeno di quando ci dicono che la scienza dice questa cosa. La scienza non ha mai delle verità. La scienza procede correggendo gli errori precedenti. E allora la conclusione mia personale, non credo di averla neanche scritta nel libro, è che non dobbiamo fidarci della scienza, ma dove la cerchiamo la verità oggi? E allora di cosa fidarci? E allora fidiamoci di noi stessi, guardiamo un po' dentro di noi e vediamo, dentro di noi troviamo un po' di verità, se riusciamo a liberarci dell'influenza che la rete, che i mass media, che la pubblicità, che la politica, che la televisione. Dentro di noi, tutti i grandi maestri spirituali del passato ci hanno detto dove dobbiamo trovare la verità, è dentro di noi, e ci hanno detto qual è il senso della nostra vita. Chiediamoci qual è il senso della nostra vita. Qual è il senso della nostra vita? Se voi leggete il Vangelo, se voi leggete il Dhammapada, il libro sacro dei buddisti, se voi leggete la Bhagavad Gita, se voi leggete il Tao Te Ching, c'è scritto che il senso della nostra vita è lavorare per il bene comune, senza attenderci ricompense. Ma poi sono andato un po' fuori tema.
If you ask the question, you are a threat to public health. That's the logic. The interests and culture of public health and those of the vaccine industry have become one and the same. They're inseparable, and they're not allowed to be questioned. This is a fundamental. The Overton window, if you're familiar with that concept, of acceptable public discourse concerning vaccines is closed, with layers of gatekeepers in corporate media, academia, medical guilds, industry marketing, scientific journals, and political parties all focused on preventing any objective scientific evaluation of vaccine risks and benefits. This is justified based on the thesis that any information concerning vaccine risks will lead to vaccine hesitancy. Vaccine hesitancy will then cost lives. The CDC has become the primary governmental enforcer of this logic, to the point of sponsoring social media gang stalking campaigns targeting dissenters. I'm sure Asim has been on the receiving end of those gang stalking campaigns on social media. During the Biden administration, the federal security apparatus and the intelligence community, this is all documented. Federal security apparatus and the intelligence community cooperated with the CDC to monitor and censor all who challenged or violated this cult-like belief system. Same thing happened in the UK. The accepted official position became that any who questioned any aspect of promoted vaccine safety and effectiveness narratives were killing people. Those who transgress were literally and figuratively accused of being mass murderers by press as well as CDC-sponsored and facilitated activists. Those seeking to take my medical license, they failed, during the COVID period, literally accused me to my medical board of being a mass murderer for publicly discussing the risks of mRNA products. Here is one example illustrating the perverse logic that has enabled this cult of vaccination. According to evidence-based medicine, the, quote, best available evidence should guide clinical decisions. You agree? Retrospective studies have emerged showing vaccinated kids are much sicker, but these studies are always dismissed by the, quote, vaccine experts in the mainstream media for not being, quote, well controlled. Here's the logic trap that powers that. Since placebo trials on vaccines are never done for, quote, ethical reasons, by the rules of evidence-based medicine, the retrospective studies we have are the best available evidence. And their conclusions about vaccine harm cannot be dismissed unless better, ergo placebo-controlled trials, are conducted to corroborate or refute them. And by the way, that's part of Bobby's initiative with the CDC, is to empower true placebo-controlled trials, not only of individual vaccines, but of vaccine-vaccine interactions, for which there are no studies. When you're giving multiple vaccines to your child, what are the data showing that those vaccines are not going to interact? If it's a normal drug-drug interaction, the FDA is all over it. If it's a vaccine-vaccine interaction, crickets. Studies not done. Studies are basically considered to be impossible, unethical. In short, anytime someone critiques a retrospective study comparing vaccinated to unvaccinated as invalid, it's critical to remember that these studies are the gold standard because better ones will never and can never be done due to promoted, contrived, and tenuous ethical considerations that are not allowed to be questioned. And meanwhile, back at the ranch, the profitability of the vaccine industry has soared to new heights. But all drugs, including vaccines, have risks and benefits. All drugs should be judiciously prescribed for those that are more likely to benefit from treatment than to be harmed. And free citizens, in theory, what we have here in the European Union and the United States, free citizens have the right to understand those risks and benefits, do they not? And to determine if the potential benefits outweigh the risks for themselves as individuals. This is particularly true with prophylactic vaccines. Think about it. This is a fundamental principle in vaccinology. Prophylactic vaccines are administered to otherwise healthy persons with the intention of preventing an unpredictable event that may or may not occur, infection and subsequent disease, at some point in the future. Out of all drugs, vaccines must be the most safe that they can be because they're given to healthy people. Healthy people that you cannot predict if they are going to become unhealthy at some point, so they darn well better be safe. This is a fundamental principle of vaccinology, pounded into me over 30 years of experience and training in clinical research, and yet we completely disregard this because it's inconvenient. To probe how far this has gone with American culture, I recently posted 2 simple questions on X, both of which are read by over 200,000 people and provoked thousands of comments. About a third of those comments were attacks that would meet European standards for hate speech. Here's the 2 simple questions. Can we at least agree that it would be good to have safer and more effective vaccines that are rigorously tested according to established modern regulatory standards? Apparently, that is a really controversial statement. Who would have thought? The other one I posted, I look forward to the day when it's no longer acceptable to censor and ridicule parents of vaccine-injured children. You wouldn't believe the hate that provoked, okay? Those parents are liars. They are absolutely misrepresenting what happened. They have no idea what really happened to their children. They're damaging vaccine uptake. They're damaging the credibility of the vaccine industry. Hundreds and hundreds of people making these kinds of comments for these very simple questions. This hate speech appears to originate from a combination of left-leaning political partisans, fake accounts or bots, and avid members of the cult that aggressively advocates that all vaccines are undeniably safe and effective. As has happened in the EU, CDC has suffered from a bureaucratic mission creep, exacerbated by this cult-like culture of unquestioning vaccine advocacy, combined with a perverse utilitarian bioethical framework based on the thesis, the ends justify the means.
When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, more of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water.
First, we've got population. Now, the world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
What do we need humans for? Or at least, what do we need so many humans for?
Do you have an answer in the book?
At present, the best guess we have is keep them happy with drugs and computer games.
In substituting humans for machines is going to be far easier in those countries that have declining populations.
Please think about what you in your organization can do to help human population decrease.